And welcome to the build challenge. Bravo! This is going to be my second build challenge, and in this challenge, we're going to be going over 4 vehicles submitted by my community. This is a personal ground transport challenge, and it's to go from Harrison to Olson. So let's get into it. So let's start by going ahead and looking at the rules of the challenge. All right, so looking at the rules of the challenge, build challenge Bravo is a personal transport challenge. The challenge is to build a personal ground transport. Already had some issues with this. People not reading the rules. It's a ground transport. The rules are going to be pretty open in this one, as the last one was more restrictive, so let's get weird. Spirit of the challenge, this is meant to be a one-person form of transportation. So it will be limited to one seat, handle, helm, etc. So I already see some issues with this. People not reading the rules, so let's read the rules. Examples, motorcycle, chariot, mechanical horse, mech. The build size will be limited to the blue hangars. Infinite electric and fuel off, vehicle damage on. A new build not previously released in the workshop. Let's operate in the honor system here. This should be newly started build at the time of the challenge. XML, whatever, size, whatever, will fit in the blue hangars, but do remember it's for personal transport. Power, whatever, cost, whatever, route. Harrison Hangar to Olson Bay. Grading. Cool factor, 1 to 10. Time to Olson, 1 to 10. It's not going to be exactly, ranked on timing. But, if it takes me a ton of time, it's going to get more towards the 1. If it's pretty quick, it's going to be more towards the 10. Human factors, how well am I able to interact with it? Workshop page, 1 out of 10. Winners, you may only win one category. I did this because, it was easy to have one person win all the categories. I'd rather it if, once you win one category, you can't win another one. Points winner, captain's favorite. So this one's just the points accumulation. This one's the one I just, if one just tickles me the most. And then we'll do voting after that for community favorite. Winners will be featured in the end credits video for a month. Winners will have Discord roles added. So I added roles last time. See, winners will have their build added to my merch store if they want. All right, so the first one here is going to be the DRZHA-F-9 fan-driven snowmobile. Now, we already have an issue with this one. Again, we just read the rules, and it's limited to one seat, handle, etc. As you can see, we have, just from the picture, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 seats on a vehicle that's supposed to have one seat. So, yeah. So I'm going to read through this. We'll take a quick look at it, but I'm going to disqualify it. Again, not following the rules. Um, the rules are pretty simple on this, but there are rules, and it's not fair to the other people who follow the rules to not follow the rules. This was something that I noticed in a lot of the challenges before, was there was a rule on there, people always trying to skirt the rules, and then it's not fair to the other people who confine themselves to the rules. So this is by Skelpton. Said Durze, crappy little fan-driven snowmobile resurrected from the dead for Captain's second build challenge. Entering production in 1936, these light snowmobiles were made to transport 14 infantry and a squad leader into battle and return, recharge and take another squad. These snowmobiles were made for the SAOF, a special Arctic unit protecting the oceanic Arctic claims, such as the Heard and McDonald Islands, and the Moak mainland oceanic Arctic claims. They were also used for recon medevac guide, WS throttle, 80 steering, base parking brake details, 70 miles an hour. 95552. Yeah, up to 15 passengers. Again, let's go right to the rules here. Right here. It would be limited to one seat, handle, helm, etc. All right, so we already have a disqualification here on the first build. So, I don't like to disqualify these. I don't like to do that, but again, there are rules for a reason. And so we'll take a look at this, but it's going to get disqualified. All right, so we'll take a quick walk around with this, and then we'll go ahead and, because it's a disqualify, we will call it there. But as you can see, it has, I think it said 14 seats, or it had 14 passenger capacity. So, again, one seat. It's personal transport. That's what the whole point is. These have restrictions for a reason. So, first build will be disqualified. All right, so the next build here is the Bernoulli Novi, the Scrapmobile. So take some look at let's take a look at some of the pictures here. So some nice pictures, you know, a nice thumbnail on there. It's by Sergeant Cheesecake. Background: at one of Bernoulli Novi's many scrapyards, a group of workers went on a stroll and uncovered an old clump of rusted metal. After further investigation, they concluded it was the remnants of an old tank that had seen better days. A few days later, curiosity got the better of them. They worked on retrieving the piece of metal, making some needed repairs, and removing everything unnecessary. Turret gone, interior space. What's that? Visibility from the driver's seat. You're in a tank. Fuel tanks move to the front for weight and balance. Caterpillar tracks. Wheels are better, or so our mechanic says. Engine bigger, so in fact they had to cut out a part of the engine bay to make it fit. Now the workers have a quick way of burning company time and money and fuel costs. I like that. That's a cool description. Kind of builds story building. I like that a lot. We'll read through this. It's pretty short. So instruction manual: climb up in the front of the tank, enter through the roof hatch, start the vehicle, turn the ignition key. An internal light can be turned on for low light environments from a button next to the key. External lights can be turned on from a separate button to the left. The heater button is located underneath this button. W is throttle up. S is brakes. BRAKE. That's a break, like you took a break, a lunch break. AD steering. Seat button 1 is gear up. 2 is gear down, and 3 is booster gear. There are some credits here for your own drive systems. All right, so let's start with a walk around here. I like it's, you know, from the story, it was a rusted hunk of metal, so I like the pixelation here. It gives it kind of that rusted look. I really like that. You know, from the story, so they took the tank tracks off and put on some wheels. Now they increase the size of the engine, and it's exposed, so it's kind of neat. You know, the little bit of story there kind of tells me why things look the way they do, and that's a neat thing. So let's go ahead and jump in. So we have one seat as stipulated in the rules, so that's nice to see. A bunch of equipment behind us: heater, interior light. Let's leave that hatch open. So we have the interior lights there, exterior lights, heater. Heater does, maybe I need the power on. Turn the ignition key on. All right, so the heater button is not working, so just keep that in mind. Not getting anything off the heater. All right, so let's go ahead and I'll quickly just go over again. W is throttle, S is brakes, AD is steering, 1 and 2 are gear up and down respectively, and 3 is boost gear. So let's look. Let's get going. The visibility is limited, but again, that goes with the story. You know, the story was this was a tank. You know, it has limited visibility because it's a tank. You know, everybody wants bubble canopies, and I kind of like that we don't. You know, I like that this is a little bit. Let's turn our interior lights on there, just get the back lights. Battery, RPS, kilometers an hour, gear, fuel. Let's see, can we go up a gear? I'm going to be a little bit careful. Looks like it has a lot of wheels and a lot of suspension. I just don't want to damage it, so. We have a couple jumps here I want to be careful of. My visibility is not great, so I don't want to bash it too much. So again, you know, this wasn't, the competition was not get to Olsen Bay as fast as humanly possible. The goal here was to make a cool personal transport vehicle that can get to Olsen Bay. So, a lot of people think that speed is everything. I'm not one of those people. I think that, you know, a lot of the journey is what's fun. So I'm driving in first person here, which is probably a little annoying. I'm going to switch to third in a second here, but part of it is, you know, again, you know, part of that story was it's supposed to be a tank and have limited visibility, and so I'm doing a little bit of the drive in first, and we'll go to third. So vehicle damage is and has been on. I verified that. Infinite fuel and electricity are off. And as you can see, we haven't sustained any damage, which is a testament to the building here. It's hard to build realistic vehicles in game because the smallest little hit and bump will detonate apart. You know, instead of just bending, because we don't have any bending. But as you see, we got there. I haven't even gone to the boost gear. I don't need it or really want it, but it's there if we need it. So as you can see, got to Olsen Bay in less than 2 minutes. So I'm just going to write that down. So this was less than 2 minutes from Harrison to Olsen Bay. So that is definitely that was a good time. I enjoy this. I really like the look of it. I like the story a lot. The story, is draws me in. It tells me why you built something the way you did. If I saw this and I saw this weird orange paint job, I might not think that's rust, but it was told to me that this was a kind of a Frankenstein rusted heap that was put together for, kind of a post-apocalyptic type of situation, and that kind of draws me in, and it makes me more interested in the build and why it looks the way it does. So I really enjoyed this vehicle. It got here nice and quick. It functioned well, no damage. Really cool. All right, so the next build is the Akira bike. So I was really hoping that we get some motorcycles, and we have one. And so motorcycles are really cool, and they're mainly because they're difficult in game, and I'm a real motorcycle guy. So it's, what's challenging in game, I get really drawn to because you can see how people overcome those challenges and the obstacles. Let's go through some pictures here. So this is the Akira bike from the anime. I really haven't seen much. I've seen clips. I haven't seen the whole. Really like the thumbnail. Thumbnail's really well done. We have some lens flare, some detailing. Really nice, nice name badge there. So really well done thumbnail there. This is by Mountain View. Like it if you like it. Dislike it if you dislike it. Intro. The year is 1982. It was a good year. Nuclear explosions bombarded the surface of the Earth. World War III lasted less than 9 hours. The year is now 2019. As society slowly rebuilds. Among pre-war rubble lies a decrepit motorcycle. It gets repaired and fitted with the latest tech. Now it holds the name Akira. It drives across the illuminated cities at night. This is a motorcycle inspired by the main bike in the popular manga series Akira. The bike in manga holds many names, including Akira bike or Kaneda's bike. This bike was also made for Captain Cockrell's Bravo Challenge, where we have to build a personal ground transport. Like the highlighted ground. Note, this is an inspiration, not a recreation. 4 meters long, 1.5 high, 0.75 wide. 176 mass without fuel. That's nice and light. Fuel is 64 liters, 2 small tanks. Max speed 115 kilometers an hour. Range 36 kilometers. A V2 modulo. That's cool. So nice small engine V2. 16 RPS. 7,000. Tutorial. Start the engine. Turn engine power on by pressing hotkey 1. Engine is now on. Start driving, for God's sake. Driving, use WS keys to accelerate and gently apply brakes. Correctly, nice. Steer the vehicle using AD keys, which becomes slower as speed increases. That's nice to see. Press space for hard brake. Reverse the vehicle by pressing hotkey 2, like a Goldwing. The parking brake is off when you start and can be activated by pressing 4. Okay, if we want a parking brake. Turn on the headlights by pressing 3. There's a fuel hose anchor on the left side to refuel the vehicle. Module engine FADEC credits are here. And these have some tags for it. So we'll go ahead and keep this up on the side, and we'll go ahead and test it out. Alright, so one of the first things I like to notice about a motorcycle here in game is this one's sitting up perfectly. I'm quite interested how Mountain View is able to accomplish this. I've played with some motorcycles myself in game and have had issues. I've done gyro stabilization and everything else. So I'm quite curious how they got this to stand up properly. Quite interesting to me. So again, nice and small. I like this, that it's a small vehicle. Again, personal transport, that kind of speaks to me. Very befitting of the category personal transport, a one-person thing. I like the small, compact nature of the engine. A nice 2-cylinder here. We have the ability to refuel it. Nice XML work here to look like the Akira bike. Nice job there on the handlebars. We have a tail light here. Very cool. Especially something this small is very tough to get all your microcontrollers in. So that's, again, one of the reasons why I like these small builds, is it really shows the challenge of it. A lot of XML editing in here. See, like I can see through that likely. Bunch of XML editing in there. So pretty simple, as it said. Turn on the engine power by pressing 1. WS is accelerate, AD. And then we can hard brake with space. So let's go ahead and grab the handlebar. Press 1. All right, I'm still sitting up sitting upright. No issues here. Curious why. Okay, I have to give it a little bit of break. It wants to go, so it probably has an active clutch on to start with, but fine. Let's check the H menu, see if there's anything else new. Not really. All right. And so let me just check the time here, and I'll set a timer for this just to kind of see where we're at here. All right, and we're going. So let's go into first-person view here. All right, no word on gearing. I don't think there was any on the page. A little bit swazy on the steering. I'll get used to it, but you know, it's a little bit sensitive right now. But it's you know, I'm getting used to it. You see how quickly I get used to it. You know, as we speed up, you know, they're saying that we get less sensitivity, which is nice. 100 units. I think of whoa, kilometers an hour, and a little swazy here, so it's a little bit slippery. Just a little slippery here. But I'm getting used to it, so I'm very curious how this is going to handle the bumps. So one of the reasons I picked this route is I know it's bumpy. So, you know, again, everybody likes to default to speed all the time, and you know, it's speed can be cool, but it's not the only thing, and so that's why I kind of picked a bumpy route here. Is you know, I'm having to slow down because, you know, with the other one I felt comfortable jumping. You know, it had that many wheels. The damage is on, so if this cracks up, you know, we're in trouble here. So I'm trying to be a little bit less crazy. You know, on a motorcycle, I ride motorcycles a lot, and it's my primary form of transpo when it's warm out, or not necessarily warm out. I'd ride when it's cold, but when it's nice out. And so, whoa, crazy. And so, you know, I'm kind of riding this how I would ride a real motorcycle. I'm not doing, you know, unless it's a dirt bike, I'm not doing jumps. My back, I'm not doing jumps. Anyway, but, you know, I have to take this a little bit more gingerly than I would with that other vehicle, and that's that's okay. You know, when I ride my motorcycle IRL, you know, I don't have a cage around me, and so I drive a little bit more cautiously than I would potentially in a car, you know, just because you don't have it. So a little bit swazy. Swazy, I just mean kind of slippery back and forth, you know, but a little bit oversteers. It takes me a while to get back, but it's not bad. Might clean that up just a hair, but I really like it. It rides cool. It looks awesome. It looks the part. It really fulfills so far the challenge. You know, I'm a little bit slippery. You know, you know, I don't know if the motor will take it, but this challenge, one of the reasons why I let XML edit anything was if you wanted to do grip on the tires, you could. So I'm curious if a little bit of XML edit grip on there would help the tires out, but not bad at all. Very cool. I really like this. A little bit slippery though, as you can see, but as you can see, it's not tipping over, which is nice. So let's look at our time. So that took about 4 minutes, a little bit less than 4 minutes. So not bad. But, you know, as you can imagine, I had to take this a little bit more cautiously. It was a little bit more slippery. You know, it's a little bit afraid of breaking something. But, again, you know, time is not the greatest factor in this. Again, you know, everybody gets really focused in Stormworks on how fast is it, how fast is it, how fast is it. I care less about how fast things are, you know, than... do I get there? Do I enjoy it? And I really enjoyed this. This was a lot of fun. I really like this. This really embodies the whole point of the challenge of having a personal transport, one-person transport. And so I really like this. So let's go ahead. Right, and the next vehicle here is the Black Widow. Very interesting here. So it looks like a Black Widow. It has the Black Widow hourglass on there. A couple pictures on here. It is a walker, which is very cool. Again, I would like, you know, nitpicking here, but it's nice to get rid of that frame. There are plenty of tutorials. Maybe I'll make ones. It's kind of tough to do tutorial when you've already done it, but I could do a tutorial at some point. But there are tutorials on how to get rid of this frame. I always like to see that frame, get rid of, you know, comparing it to the other ones that you can see. Last couple had some more artistic license in the thumbnail. This is by Penny. So my submission to Captain's Build Challenge, if there might be no more tires in the future, maybe the Black Widow will be the solution. The hatches on the bottom of the Black Widow activate the battery breaker. Preaker. Activate the generator key. WS is speed. Oh, okay, so cruise controls are just using the trim, essentially. So the ALT key plus WS for cruise control is recommended to use approximately 0.7 to keep the battery level. Okay, so it's probably, you know, diesel electric or something. AD steering credits, ear and winds, modular engine controller. All right, so pretty basic on the workshop page, but we'll see, you know, how it functions and how we can get going. So, all right, so let's do our walk around here on the Black Widow. Very cool. I like it. It's definitely different. You know, this is the kind of thing that adds the cool factor is, you know, doing walkers and things like this. So this looks interesting. It looks like it is rotary with steppers. That's very cool. They're regular suspension. They're not pistons. So they're just auto suspending essentially, which is cool. Little bit basic on its detailing. I do like the Black Widow hourglass on top. You know, it'd be kind of cool to see some, you know, I guess these are the legs, but a little bit more detailing would be nice. A little bit plain Jane, but it's not bad, certainly. Go on in. All right, let's check the very important thing of, does it have more than one seat? It does not. Okay. Is this nuclear? No, it's liquid bathed. It looks like a liquid bathed diesel. So there's some sort of liquid in there. Pretty basic cockpit in here. See, so let's go through the rules. Activate battery breaker. Activate generator key. All right, next, what do we have to do? What is that? Light. Okay, we don't need the lights. Fuel, RPS, generator, and battery. So it's saying 0.7. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna start pushing forward. All right, so I'm just pushing forward W. Let's turn. I like it. It's very interesting. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna hold the Alt key. What did it say? 0.7. So I'll start the timer here in 1 second. I don't think this is gonna be fast to get there. Let's put it that way. So I will be scaling these. So I just started the timer. This is gonna take some time. So there's a good chance of a speed up here. So we're going to call it here on this. You know, the way I'm grading the speed is just subtracting it from 10. So we are over 10 minutes now. And so we'll just go ahead and give this a 0 for speed. What I'm going to do now is I'll continue grading these as I go, but I've been adjusting the scores as I see more of them, and so we'll do a final grading. But really cool vehicle, just a little bit on the slow side, so we're going to stop it there and move on to the next one. And this is where the Black Widow got. Right, the next build is the MRG E-HS high-speed exosuit. Oh, this is really cool. I like this. Nice to see some walkers. So it's very challenging doing these kind of atypical type of builds, and you know, they're a little bit more challenging. It's nice to see. The really cool pictures here. I like the I like the suit with the white pants. Nice thumbnail here, as you can see. You know, it doesn't have that border. Has some nice branding on there. Some framing. It's by Mr.G. Winners of Alpha. Intro, a simple exosuit mech I made for a one-person transpo challenge in Captain Conco's Discord server. I'm using steampunk designs for inspiration. I like some steampunk. Simple to operate and simple and small in size. A bit to handle, but if you keep up, it's very smooth. Includes one seat. Wanted 110 mile an hour top speed. Wowza. Under 4,200. See, this is kind of fulfilling what I like with this challenge was, you know, one person, small, cheap, pretty quick. So we'll see how it works in there. Procedures, normal. We are normal, so let's try it. Are we normal, though? Get into your seat. Magnets will automatically disengage. Use WSAD for normal walking. Camera. Press 1 for camera control movement. WS is still used for forward and thrust. High speed. Press 2 for high speed. Increase the back fan. 1820 to 85. So if I have to fly, we're not doing any. Yeah, I'm not flying. This is a ground challenge. Higher speed is hard to control, but allows for airtime. So we're not gonna fly. This is a ground challenge, so we're gonna stick to the ground. So spotlight, 1 for spotlight. Transponder, 1 for emergency transponder. So we might do a flight potentially. I probably won't. It's not within the things. I recommend everybody go and subscribe, and you can test out the flying function. But again, this is a ground challenge, but we're not going to test out the flying functionality. But it's fine if it's in there, but we're just not going to use it. It'd be like if I had a boat challenge and the boat also flies, I wouldn't fly it. Specs 2-meter length, 2.7 meters tall, max speed 20 miles an hour normal, 110 with airtime. Fuel infinite electric, that's fine. Again, that was within the rules. Power plant just couldn't have infinite electricity. You can make something that generates infinite electricity. I just won't have the setting on. Power plant, 2 pivot mech legs, boost fan, 1 player seat. Again, that's what we want. Cost 4,100, so nice and cheap. When any mode, make sure to keep up on the AD camera controls to keep it straight. Tends to go more straight in the high speed mode. Since it has infinite electricity, there's a connector in the back to charge other vehicles. Don't get wet, lol, it sinks like a rock. Pretty fun to use. Have a version that goes 250 miles an hour. All right, and so let's go ahead and let's take a look. All right, so here we are with the walker. So again, I'll read the procedures again really quickly. So it says, get in your seat. Magnets will automatically disengage. WS and AD for normal walking. I'm not gonna do the fan on the back. I don't want to fly. So let's do a quick walk around. It's very cool. I like its slim design. I like its external cockpit. You know, you could put a bunch of glass around there, but I prefer it open here. Again, it's a small one-person transpo. I like that a lot. All right, so that's a valve. It just says made by Mr.G, so probably not operational. It's not in there in the instructions. XML editing here. I like the paint scheme. Really cool. Very small. You see there's microcontrollers there. Not a ton of microcontrollers, which is nice. Very cool. All right, so let's jump in the seat. All right, so that disengaged itself. So I'm quite curious how it stands. Speed, miles an hour, camera controls. 1 for camera control movement. Okay, so let's start moving. So I'm just pressing W. That's a little herky-jerky. Let me start the timer. Alright, I wasn't paying attention, but we'll get there. Alright, so I'm going to turn on 1, and I'm going to sit in the seat here, do camera controls here. So it's very cool, but it's, I may not be able to look at this for very long. So, I don't know if the camera controls are on. I don't know if the camera controls are actually on. Alright, let me stop a second here. Alright, camera controls are definitely on. Alright. All right, let me see if I can't turn off camera controls. One. Okay, I'm gonna try to just control it manually here. That's not a bad speed. You know, it looks like probably 20 miles an hour. What's what it said. That's 8 minutes and 42 seconds, and so we made it here. You know, with some time to spare. All right, so this is going to be the grading of the vehicle. So change the numbers around a little bit, and we'll kind of go through them. So we'll go ahead and we'll start with the first one. So the first vehicle is the Bernoulli Novi, the Scrapmobile by Cheesecake. First factor is cool factor. So I kind of revised the cool factor of this a little bit. You know, again, they're graded on a scale based on the other ones, and so the cool factor for the Bernoulli is a 7. You know, we're looking at some of the other ones. It's, you know, I really like the story. The backstory was helpful. You know, that's a rusty, scrapped kind of Frankenstein vehicle. That helped a lot. But you know, it's pretty typical. You know, it's 8-wheel drive, wheeled vehicle. That helped it in other categories, but it knocked the cool factor down. Some of them were really cool, being walkers or motorcycles. You know, but they lost in speed because of that, you know, and so that's kind of the trade-off is you might lose some cool factor points, but you gain some speed points, something like that. So the Bernoulli Nova gets a 7 on cool factor. Time to Olson, the Bernoulli got an 8. It only took about 2 minutes to get there. That was our fastest vehicle. Again, it's kind of typical. It's a You know, it's a wheeled vehicle, should be fast, suspension. I was able to go really fast over jumps, even with damage on. I didn't damage it, and so that gave it a lot of points in time. But you know, it lost out on cool factor because of that. You know, human factors. I gave that a 10. That had probably some of the best human factors. That did have the best human factors in him, and so not only was it how easy it was for me to operate the vehicle, in a sense of, you know, did you give me enough instructions? Could I, you know, figure out how to operate it? But very rarely did I lose control. I had a couple jumps that I kind of lost control in the air, but it wasn't a big deal. I was able to get there quickly and easily, stay on the road most of the time. I was able to go at a really high clip and feel comfortable jumping over jumps that, you know, that I wasn't going to break it and that I wasn't going to have any issues with control. So that gets a 10 on human factors. Workshop page, gave it a 9. That got some got a little bit of extra points on the workshop page because of its story. Had a really good story with that. I'm actually going to give that a 10. Again, I'm grading these on a scale, so I'm kind of comparing them together as well. So we'll give that a 10. So, you know, in total, that has 35. Top of my head. All right, so that did a really great job on there. Next one is going to be Akira. So we have Akira here. Cool factor. Cool factor is a 9. It's a motorcycle, in-game motorcycles. You know, we don't have. So for those who don't understand how gyroscopic forces work, so essentially, if you're spinning a tire, and you put a force on that tire, it operates 90 degrees to the force applied. So that's how you can lean a motorcycle. So as you lean, because the wheel is spinning forward and you're giving it a left force, it's actually putting a right force on the bike, and that's actually counteracting the tilt so that it keeps you upright, or allows you to lean and the motorcycle not tip over. And so we don't get that in game. So things like motorcycles are very challenging. And so I'm quite curious how that works. Probably XML some way, but very cool. So that adds to the cool factor. Not only is it a motorcycle, not only is it an inspired build by some real life thing, it looks really cool. It also has some really good technical elements there. Time to Olsen, that was a 6. That was our second fastest. It got there in 4 minutes, I believe. Yeah, 4 minutes. A little bit slower, and the thing that slowed that down a little bit was controllability. It was a little off road. It was getting a little slippery. I had to kind of get after it a couple times. Next factor there will be human factors. Human factors was, I'm going to knock this down a point to a 9, and that's because of that controllability issue. And again, I'm grading these on a scale, so the first build, the Bernoulli, was really very controllable. The Akira was a step down from that. It was a little bit harder to control, and so that lost a little human factors. Again, easy to operate, good instructions, but just lost a little points on kind of the slipperiness of it. But, you know, again, with a motorcycle, I have to be a little bit more cautious, but it was a little bit slippery. All right, and the final category there is going to be the workshop page. Workshop page got a 10. Talks about Akira, the show, and it goes into some details and had specifications and lengths and widths and all that. Really well done thumbnails and everything else there. Really great workshop page. Right, and so adding that up, that gets a 34, so very close. Next one is the Black Widow. So the Black Widow, the first category we're going to talk about is the cool factor. Cool factor was a 10 on the Black Widow. You know, like I said, when you take some risks, you should be rewarded for it. Innovation comes from doing what other people are not doing. Innovation comes from doing the thing that's a little bit harder. And so, again, it would have been easy if we had 4 vehicles that were all wheeled vehicles. That would have been super simple and easy, and they could have got there all quickly. And so, when you take a risk, shouldn't be punished for it. You might get punished in one category, for example. It's going to get punished in speed, but it makes up for it in cool factor. Decided to make a spider, a walking spider, and that was really cool. It could use some more detailing, but it worked really phenomenally well. It was easy to steer. You noticed I stayed on the street the whole time. It was very slow. So it gets hurt in the time to Olsen. It got a 0 in that. Again, I just did it by minutes, so that took over 10 minutes to try to get there. So that receives a 0 in that category. Next is human factors. Human factors, that's going to also get a 9. Very simple and easy to use, intuitive. The only issue is I couldn't stay in first person view because it would, it was too jumpy, too bumpy around. It would make me nauseous. If you put a stabilized cab on there or something, that would help. That got a little bit of a point loss on that. Workshop page got a little bit of a hit here. Not as nice of a workshop page as some of the others. Didn't have some of the the thumbnail still had that frame around it. People took some time to go into their thumbnail and kind of brand their vehicle, give it a brand, give it a name. And so, people get rewarded for that. So some of the other builds had better workshop pages and those kind of little details that I like to see. So that received a 7. All right, so the score for the Black Widow is a 26. All right, so the final one we have here is the Walker by Mr.G. Cool factor, 10. Again, took some risks with this. The risks bring up the cool factor. Again, making a walker is cool. Everybody and their brother could make a car, and by taking that risk, you're gonna get rewarded with that. Really cool. I like the steampunk nature of it. I liked how small it was. The two best that really fulfilled the criteria of the competition, I would say, are the Walker by Mr.G and Akira. Part of it is you can even look at the size of it. You look at my character size and you look at the 2 vehicles over there, that's personal transport. Imagine going to work tomorrow. Again, I didn't put a size limit on. You could have done a huge mech, but I did put a condition on there. Yeah, so under size, I put size, whatever will fit in the blue hangers, but do remember it's for personal transport. So these are little hints I put in there. Again, there's nothing wrong with these other 2, but as far as fulfilling the spirit of the challenge, those 2 on the right fulfill it best. And again, everything's a trade-off. I'm not digging on people's stuff for that, but they definitely fulfilled that element of the challenge best by being smaller, being personal transport, being like a car, a moped, a horse, these sorts of things. You can imagine a huge mech that would fit into the hangar, but be so enormous. Imagine parking that at work or trying to go to the grocery store with it or, trying to go get a haircut with it. and that's kind of what I put in that category. So I kind of build a story with what the challenge is about, and so that's that as well. So that gets cool factor of 10. Time to Olsen. Mr. G magically made it. It was less than, it had about a minute and 20 seconds left. So we'll actually give him a 1.2. The 0.2 really doesn't matter, but it's slow. That was definitely an issue. That one got hurt the most on human factors. Again, got a lot of points on cool factor, but you lost some points on human factors just because I literally could not operate it from the cab. And you did put in the workshop page that it was hard to operate, but I could not operate in first person in the cab. It was literally making me nauseous. So that cuts down its utility. It was fatiguing to me. I had to constantly try to steer because it was jerking back and forth. And again, you took some risks with making it a walker. That's awesome. You get points certainly in the cool factor with it, but you lose some with the usability, and that's what came into factor there. So it's easy to use. Well, it was somewhat easy to use. I wasn't sure if camera mode was on or off. I would have had to go in first person view to use camera mode. I assume having it fly, that probably comes into play a little bit more with camera mode. So I really recommend everybody to go and subscribe to all these and check them out. Again, I haven't flown Mr. G's mech yet. I will at some point, but again, it's not part of the challenge, so I'm not getting into that. But for the criteria, the challenge, giving a 6 on human factors, it was making me nauseous. It was hard to do. It was fatiguing. It took me 9 minutes to get there, and I was constantly having to pay attention. Even with Black Widow, it didn't even make it all the way there, but I could look away. I was moving the camera around, doing some cinematic shots, kind of looking at its wheels and its legs and how it's working. And so I'm actually going to knock Black Widow down to an 8 on human factors. And part of that was I remembered that it was very loud in the cockpit. If you go in the cockpit, not only was it shaking around and making it very hard, and I gave Mr. G's a little bit more of a lashing on human factors. You also couldn't sit in the cockpit of the Black Widow. It was bouncing you around too much and make you nauseous. But it was also uber loud. If you put a headset on that seat on the Black Widow, that would probably help with that. And then, so the final category is workshop page. So I gave that a 9. Good story, great layout, excellent workshop page there. The one thing it didn't really have that I would have liked to see, and the reason it got docked a point, first two, the Bernoulli and the Akira got 10s, and this one got a 9, was they had a cool story, kind of a backstory. The Bernoulli, it was a heap of junk sticking out in the wasteland, and they took off the tracks and put on wheels, and they bumped the engine out of the top, and it was rusty. And then Akira, talking about the series and the backstory. Those are kind of cool things that make you make you get immersed in a build. So, a little bit more of a backstory, I think, would have added to that. All right, so we have the final grading here. And so let's go ahead and we'll get in first person for these. So I'll do a little walk around again. We have the Bernoulli here by Cheesecake. Next to that, we have the Black Widow here. Would have been nice to see a little bit more detailing on this, but still an awesome build here. I really like the Black Widow. It's innovative. This is by Penny. We have the Mr.G's MRG E-HS high-speed exosuit. And finally, we have Akira by Mountain View 35. All right, so, we have a couple categories to talk about here on winners. So one of the winners is done by points. And so this actually I do this to also surprise me to a little bit, kind of come up with the independent points and then kind of see where they are. And, and I got a couple surprises here where the points were. So the points are 35 points for Bernoulli. That's going to be our winner for the points category. It had again, it's a more conventional vehicle, and so that helped it in certain categories. It lost a lot in cool factor, but one of the big things that made up for this, again, like I was saying, you can make trade-offs. This had the lowest cool factor, but it was also the fastest and one of the easiest to control. And so it made up for it in human factors, and it made up for it in speed. And so these two categories made it, and one of the reasons why I was considering the speed to Olsen was that's part of the usability. If you can't actually use these vehicles, it makes them hard to justify. I like making some outlandish stuff too, but if it doesn't have good usability, you tend not to even use it because oh, I'm not taking that. It'll take me forever to get there. And so this one on points, the second highest on points was Akira. Akira really only lost on a little bit of controllability issues, which helped slow it down. So lost on both human factors on that. Next on points, by a nose. These were almost tied. These were literally pretty much tied. The next one in order is Mr.G is at 26.2. And it would actually, Black Widow would be lower if I went into negative category because I couldn't get all the way to Olsen. So the time really killed these, but these had the highest scores in the cool factor. These were the coolest ones. They took risks and they got rewarded for their risks. All right, so with the points out of the way, next on there is going to be my favorite. And so my favorite, it was kind of hard, but this one wasn't that hard to pick a favorite, I would say. I pretty much when I operated, I kind of got giddy with it. I enjoyed it. Again, it lost on points, but it was my favorite. Now it's Akira. I'm a huge motorcycle guy, and this won my personal favorite for a number of reasons. Akira won because one, it's one of the two that best fulfills the personal transport role. I'd say the two that best fulfilled the personal transport spirit of this build would be Mr.G's Walker and Akira. And so these two, really kind of walk away with that personal transport. These best do the spirit of the competition, which was to build that personal transport. And so it looks beautiful. It's a motorcycle, which is inherently cool. It stands up on its own. It would be nice if it leaned, but that's not a deal breaker. But it's really cool. It has that cool factor. It has that personal transport factor. It looks really nice. It functions really well. Like I can jump on here and just get going, and it was nice. I don't know, grip up the tires, work on that controllability a little bit. It's a little bit slippery. That takes down its usability a little bit, but Akira was my favorite out of the bunch. And so the next category is up to you guys. So I'm going to do what we did last time. I'm going to have an open voting period after the video is out, and you guys have some time to watch and digest the video, maybe a week. And I really want you guys to try these out. I used to hate it with some of the other build challenges. You could tell people are just looking at the thumbnail and voting on the thumbnail. Please don't do that. People put a lot of work into these builds. Go check out their workshop page. Go download the build. Actually use them. Go take them for a spin. You don't have to go Harrison Olsen, but take them for a little spin. See what you think. And kind of just tell me which one's your favorite. So the next category, you'll see it post up on the Discord. I'll let you know when it's open voting for community favorite. But please watch the video and go ahead and test these out. So I really enjoyed this. Thank you guys for participating. It's always fun to have you guys join me on these challenges. And I will see you in Build Challenge Charlie. See you later.